Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video is a replay sent in by BIAworldofwarships 1976. Yeah, that was a mouthful. We're just going to call him B for the rest of the replay. He's playing here in his Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser, the Myoko, and he's playing some domination by himself here on the map New Dawn. So, if you want to send a replay into us, please send it to all caps BIAworldofwarships@gmail.com. Please include the replay file, either as a video file, or if you have Aslan's mod, send us the notepad file, and we will do the recording on our end. Please send your post-battle screenshots. Please give us a slight description of the game. And lastly, if you prefer myself, Spider, or Puddin to do the commentary, please mention that in the email submission as well. So this is the 5th installment into our replay series, and I suppose this one should be thrown into the bag of, well, it doesn't matter how good you do, and it doesn't matter how hard you carry, sometimes enough just isn't enough. B here is going to have a fantastic game in this very good but somewhat interesting, I should say, Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser. And it all has to do with the guns on this thing. We all know Japanese cruisers are very sneaky, they have good maneuverability, good speed, somewhat decent armor, large citadels, but the main thing about the Myoko is its guns, and they're very interesting. It has a rather peculiar arrangement of the main batteries, as you can see on the ship. It has 3 in the front in a pyramid, 6 guns, and it has 2, a super firing pair, in the rear with 4 guns for a total of 10 of these 203mm main battery guns. And to be honest with you, the high explosive, the fire chance is all great. The armor piercing is actually pretty good in certain situations. But there's a couple things about the Myoko that I really don't like. And I am currently at this ship, and I've done okay in it. But one of the things that really gets me is the turret traverse. Even with expert marksmen, the ship turns faster than the guns are able to traverse themselves. And that's something that is a real large pet peeve of mine. And it's something that I just haven't figured out yet. You know, you got to really think about your positioning in this ship, because if you get caught with your pants around your ankles and you got to turn and maneuver and get out of dodge, your turrets are not going to be able to keep up with you. Let me tell you that right now. And it's going to be very, very difficult for you to be able to really do any damage while you're taking damage and trying to get out of there. And it just presents some very weird situations. And also, as you're looking on the screen here, see how much of a broadside you have to open up to utilize all 10 guns? Certainly, this is not a problem that you will have to deal with on the later tier Japanese cruisers, but since it's the first one with 10 guns, I suppose this is one way of balancing it. And it just, you know, you have to open up the broadside so much that it's pretty much a citadel if a battleship hits you right in the sweet spot at that kind of angle, you know. 35, 40 degrees, I believe, is about the angle you have to open up to get all your guns. And yeah, even tier 5s like the Congo that just popped out of view, they can easily citadel this ship. So you really have to be mindful of your angles and know when to open up your full broadside. So right now, the friendly kamikaze has captured objective B, and he is down here capturing objective Charlie. This is the early stages of the game. Scores 309 to 318, and he fires his first full salvo at the enemy Bajoni, but it falls harmlessly off to his port side. He does get shot at, though. Enemy Myoko just pops up 12.4 kilometers away in front of him. Is he going to get the cap? Yes, he does. Full base cap. Takes about 3,000 damage and has his torpedoes armament incapacitated. Luckily for him, it did not set him on fire, but he does take a pretty solid hit at the beginning of the game. So as he's looking for a shot here on the enemy Myoko, he decides just to shoot his 2 forward guns, and that was a very good decision, because he decided to shoot some armor piercing back at him. And once again, if you open up that broadside, even 8-inch cruiser guns can do massive amounts of damage at the angle that you have to open up to get your whole firepower to bear. Trust me, it's very unpleasant to take 10k salvos from cruisers, let alone from enemy battleships that, you know, certainly can do that without much harm or without much trouble. So right here, just as he takes a couple more hits from the enemy Bajoni that just went behind the island, he now gets into cover behind the 2 islands in front of him, and he is about to go off detection. He's done 2,178 damage here at the beginning of the game, only 2 shell hits, but again, he does have the solo base cap, and it does give you quite a crazy amount of XP. Always, always try to get those solo base caps. It'll pretty much guarantee you to be in the top half of your team by the end of the game. Scores 339 to 403. His team has pretty much followed him down here. At least the bulk of his fleet has. A couple battleships, a few battleships to be exact, and a couple cruisers, the York and the Nuremberg. Both of his destroyers have went over towards Objective B, and they're just kind of shadowing over there, trying to keep the enemies out. and a couple of his friends have also went up to Objective Alpha. But you can see on the minimap the main enemy push is up at Objective Alpha, so now he has to kind of play catch-up. But that is one thing the Myoko is good at. It has a very solid top speed of over 35 knots, so making your way across the battlefield to get into a better position is certainly something that you can do in the ship with pretty much, pretty good ease. So, he gets undetected there, moving up in between the islands. The enemy Myoko that was out in front of him has long since went off the map, and there he is. He just gets spotted. He pops up at 12.2 kilometers away, looking for his 2 forward guns. He decides to shoot when he doesn't see him. Very interesting play there. He does get detected when he does shoot his 2 forward turrets. The shells just go above the enemy Myoko. He starts to maneuver. It's a good tactic, and it's a good thing that you really need to do in the ship. You always need to be turning slightly. Slight course adjustments are the Myoko's best friend because they kind of mitigate the amount of turning that you have to do with your turrets. And as long as you can keep your maneuvers, not too heavy and just kind of slight, you're going to be able to keep your guns way more on target. And that's something that you really do need to master in this ship specifically. Obviously, ships like the Mogami and the Ibuki at the later tiers do have pretty rough turret traverses as well, but the Myoko is certainly the worst of the bunch. Shells falling in on the enemy Myoko, and he does get 1,000 damage. Now, since he goes off detection, he decides to swing and get a full broadside out on the enemy Myoko. He does take a couple more hits. He has lost about 10,000 hit points from that guy and the Congo's concentrated fire. And now he decides to load the armor piercing as he sees an enemy Bajoni coming around the corner. Now, this is a perfect scenario to be able to use your armor piercing in a Japanese cruiser. Again, I think I forgot to mention, the reload on this thing is rather long for a cruiser. It is about 14 seconds. He gets a full armor piercing broadside into the Bajoni. This certainly should be a kill, and JK. 2,700 damage, You'd think that a Russian ship full broadside would just eat citadels like that, like all the other cruisers in the game, but I suppose not. Bajoni gets taken out by the friendly Alba. Now he turns in, and he's going to make a very, very interesting decision here. He's got just over 8,000 damage done. 10 hits off in the shells. His team is leading 487 to 454, and literally his entire team is behind him. Everybody got out of dodge at B. Everybody that went to C turned in. And, he's pretty much the vanguard here for his fleet as they're kind of all looking like they're going around the island there in sector, D8. Yeah, they're all going around, it looks like anyway. So he certainly is going to be coming under the fire from more than one ship here, so he has to be careful. And he does manage to get his forward guns out as I was blabbering on about random stuff. He takes out the enemy Koenig to get his first kill of the game. 10,000 points of damage done. Good stuff. 12:28 to go in the game, and his team is leading 521 to 458. And now he's swinging his forward guns in to look for some shots on the enemy Colorado, who's at more or less full health coming towards him, 12.3 kilometers away. Now he does go undetected, and then he gets spotted by aircraft. As I mentioned earlier, of course, the Japanese cruisers have very good concealment ratings. Now, the Myoko's concealment rating isn't that good to be able to stay off at 12 kilometers, especially after you shoot the guns. You're not going to be hidden. It does tank quite a few shots there, though, from the Colorado. It only takes 2,300 points of damage. That was actually really lucky. I half expected one of those shells to penetrate through the deck and get quite a few hits. Now, he's also getting fire from the enemy Königsberg that's in front of him. So he is making the right play here, continuing to back up. Manages to get 4 shell hits and 2 fires on the Colorado, who immediately burns his damage control. A very poor decision right there. You got to let that burn for at least for a little bit and maneuver to get out of dodge before trying to put the fire out. But hey, as the shell falls in, doesn't set a fire with his next salvo, so his damage control will be running out soon, however, so that Colorado really needs to get behind cover before he takes more fire damage, potentially, if RNG hooks up B here. We'll see if it happens. Shell's falling in. No, it does not. He does over 2,000 damage with 2 more shell hits. Colorado is still staying bow into him, but he really doesn't fear the fire, I suppose. And Japanese cruisers, if they do go with Demolition Expert, there we go, another fire set, about 3,000 damage. If they go with Demolition Expert, these 8-inch guns have around a 20% fire chance, which is really phenomenal for a cruiser in the game. And I'm not going to lie, RNG hasn't treated me too well in this ship, to be honest with you. I don't get as many fires as I really feel that I should, but he's already picked up 3 thus far in the game out of only 26 shell hits, so hey, he's doing just fine. And quite a few of those were actually with armor piercing. The score is 646 to 502. Taking some shots here at the enemy Gnevny that's moving into cap objective Bravo. His whole team is still moving completely dead north along the 8 line. And I really don't know what is going on here. He did mention in his replay submission that he was really upset with the play of the battleships. And I think specifically the Congo and the Koenig, who are completely far away from any of the caps and just continuing their march north. And I really don't know what they're doing here, because when you're playing domination on a map such as this, where, the grid squares are only 3.6 kilometers across, and, it's a pretty small map, to be honest with you, especially for these mid to high tier games. They're just not doing it right. And, you see this a lot with domination. People they stay away from the caps. It's like, oh my gosh, if I go into the cap, I'm going to contract AIDS and die or something. I don't know. I don't understand it. Now, that was a pretty rough example, but you get my point. I just really don't understand why people are so afraid to go tank damage and get inside the caps. The Congo has taken quite a bit of damage, but his friendly Koenig really hasn't at all, and I just really don't understand the play by that whatsoever. So the score is now 585 to 620. His team has all of a sudden lost quite a few ships. They only have 5 ships remaining on his team, while the enemy team has 8 of them. So he's got his work cut out for him here, and he's going to have to hunker down. He's going to have to get some kills here. Now, the enemy Colorado does literally the most stupid thing that you could do, and he just stops in the middle of the cap. His torpedoes are on the way. They only have about 59 knots top speed, I believe, but it does not matter when a Colorado is sitting broadside on. Gets hit by 2 torpedoes, only needed 1 to take him out. Second kill of the game for B here. 35,000 damage, 2 ships destroyed, 29 shell hits, 1 torpedo hit, 4 fire set, and of course, the 1 base capped. He fires a few of his guns back at the enemy York with high explosive, and now he's taking fire from AP from the York. He's taking fire AP-wise from the Königsberg, and he's about to come under fire from his starboard side from the enemy Pensacola. So he's in a really bad spot here, getting shot at by 3 different cruisers, and he can't stay angled to all of them at the same time. So he's got to bug out, get out of dodge, and reassess the situation, which is exactly what he's doing. So he made a good play, and he did get out of that bow-in position at the right time. He does have armor piercing loaded, and he is shooting at the enemy Pensacola, and you're going to see exactly here what I'm talking about. To get his full broadside to bear, you really have to open up such a broadside that, yeah, you're going to take a lot of hits like that, even from enemy cruisers. That was about 8,000 damage done from the enemy Pensacola, almost 9,000. And that right there is just the kind of damage that you just really don't want to give enemy cruisers, again, let alone battleships that are able to do that with ease. And the enemy Pensacola's got to feel pretty good about himself. He is slowly making this engagement turn towards his favor. However, he does take a 3,102 damaging hit from B here with his armor piercing, and the Byron even joins the party and hits him with a shell or 2. Does over 1,000 damage. So he's got to disengage and get behind these islands to keep off detection, hopefully at least, and be able to re-engage the ships at his discretion. The score is 631 to 735. His team only has 4 ships left, and that includes those 2 bozos over there, the Congo and the Koenig, that are just, sailing along, just completely oblivious, I guess, to the caps here, not understanding that A and B are taken from by the enemy team. He gets 3 of his guns out on the Pensacola, and boom, there we go. Citadel on the Pensacola, 3rd ship destroyed in the game for him. He's up to 46,000 damage, brings the score back for his team. And the enemy Myoko is able to take out the Pensacola, so they have quickly swung the scores back in their favor. Right now, his team still has 4 ships, but the enemy team has been whittled down to 5. And now he's looking for more armor piercing here on the enemy Königsberg. He does go off detection, does get spotted immediately so from the enemy Byron, I believe. Shoots his armor piercing at the Königsberg. He takes quite a big hit from somebody, and unfortunately he's only able to do 940 damage. Does have a couple of overpens there, but he's getting ready for yet another armor piercing salvo on the Königsberg. And even when the Königsberg angles in, this tier 5 German light cruiser really doesn't have very good armor whatsoever, and is very susceptible to 8-inch shell fire from cruisers. He's looking for a shot, shoots his full broadside of AP, turning to try and dodge the Byron shells, which he successfully does. The Byron shoots over him and manages to get yet another Citadel on an angled Königsberg. He picks up his 4th kill of the game. Only done about 49,000 damage, but nonetheless, he is carrying his team hard right now. Very good stuff here, and he loads the high explosive. So he's doing a very good job of managing his ammunition types. And at this point in the game, scores 793. There we go, geez, to 702. The enemy team, however, still is in control of objective Alpha and Bravo, and the Koenig and the Congo are still chasing after the enemy ships that are over there at objective Alpha, still about as far away as you can get. And unfortunately for him, his friend in the Ognavoy gets taken out by the Nevny's torpedoes in objective Bravo. So now the enemy team has pulled the scores back very close, 763 to 759 now. And, yeah, you can look in chat right there. B is really not happy with his battleship friends, and they're really going to screw him over here at the end of the game. And just, it's hard to watch, trust me. Gets some shots out here on the Bayern, gets 3 of his guns, wasn't able to get the 2 to make it all 10, but nonetheless, he still gets a pretty decent hit on the Bayern, and he's able to light him on fire with a 1,000 damaging hit, and because, why not, right, decides to put out 1 fire. I just don't understand Battleship players. Consider this a PSA. You're going to see why this Bayern is just going to get wrecked. When you get 1 fire, do not immediately put it out at all. You really need to take into consideration the situation. And basically what's going to happen here is he's just going to continue to spam high explosive at a target that has more or less not taken any saturated damage whatsoever. So he's just going to keep lighting him on fire and keep lighting him on fire. He does come under the fire of the Bayern secondaries, does get his forward guns out yet again, gets quite a few more hits. The Bayern has moved in onto Objective Charlie, and he is looking to cap it. Unfortunately for him, his buddy in the, what was it, the Congo. Yes, the Congo has since died. So now it's the Koenig up there, taking on a Myoko and an Alba. And he's looking for torpedoes here on the enemy Bayern. However, he is detected. He's got to be really careful about going around this corner right here. He does get undetected and then redetected immediately by an aircraft. He's looking for torpedoes here on the Bayern, and he is completely broadside. Oh, boy, what's going to happen here? Oh, wow. Woo! The Bayern completely biffs on the shot. I don't know how he missed him right there. And now he's got his full salvo of torpedoes heading after him. And, yeah, it really doesn't look like that Bayern's doing much to get out of the way. He goes behind the island, out of line of sight, but his torpedoes are certainly going to find the mark on the Bayern. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, isn't able to get the kill, but he goes up to 99,000 points of damage. Just cracks 100,000. Unfortunately for him, his friend in the Koenig is just not pushing in towards Objective Alpha. And this is just painful to watch. Unfortunately for the Bayern, however, since he uses damage control on 1 fire, he is now taking massive amounts of flooding, and he does get taken out. Devastating strike. Kraken unleashed. B is completely carrying his team right now. Picks up the Kraken. What an effort so far. 5 kills. 2 citadels, 4 torpedoes hit, and now the Nevny decides to charge him. So the enemy team is still trying to throw this game away. I have no idea what this destroyer is trying to do. I don't know why, with only less than 4,000 health, he's trying to charge, a Myoko that's got these dastardly 203mm guns. And when this high explosive hits, it does a massive amounts of damage. It gets 5 shell hits, 6th ship destroyed for B here. He is on a freaking rampage. 109,000 damage done so far. And that Koenig is still up there at Objective Alpha. Oh, he's just not being aggressive. He's not trying to get on the cap. And I understand B here. He really did have to run away from Objective Bravo. He really did have to kite away and reassess the situation and, get into those circumstances where he's controlling the engagement. And all those 2 battleships up there had to do was just be more aggressive pushing into Alpha. But unfortunately for him, with only 2 minutes and 4 seconds left in the game, 8:39 to 9:49, it just doesn't look like this is going to be a victory. If that Koenig dies right now, the game is going to be over. And this is going to be one painful for defeat here for B and his Myoko. And, look at that. All because we got pussy battleships. You know what, man? I feel your pain completely. I mean, it's something you have to deal with in this game. It doesn't matter how good you do. It doesn't matter how much butt you kick. There's just certain times where you're just not going to be able to pull it off. And unfortunately for him, with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, the enemy team only needs 9 more points to win the game. And before he is able to get up to Objective Bravo, the enemy team is going to win the game. What an effort by B here in the Myoko on the map New Dawn. Taking a look now at the post-battle results, 326,000 credits received, 2,381 total XP, Kraken unleashed, devastating strike, 109,000 points of damage dealt to the enemy team off of 68 target hits with his guns and 4 torpedoes hit with his long lance metal fishes, 6 ships destroyed out of the 12 on the enemy team, 8 fires set, 4 floodings caused, 2 citadels, 8 base defense, and 1 solo cap. Taking a look at the team score, 1,587 base XP for BIAworldofwarships 1976 in his Myoko. And although the Koenig finished second on the team with 2 kills and just over 1,000 base XP, don't be fooled. He certainly didn't help him out when he needed it the most. And while we cannot certainly at all pin the blame for his team's defeat on one guy, he certainly didn't make it any easier for him by being very, very passive up at A and just really taking way too long to be able to make any significant difference for the outcome. So Biffception and your Koenig, if you do watch this video, just know that when you're playing domination, you really need to be more aggressive at those caps. And while I'm not suggesting at all you need to throw your ship away, when it's in the game like this and you're losing, you really need to get on the caps and you really need to be just a bit more aggressive. And BIAworldofwarships, thank you again for sending in the replay. Fantastic result. I'm really sorry that your team ended up letting you down here in this game. But please don't be discouraged with your performance. That was certainly a very good one. And again, thank you very much, sir, for that replay. To the viewers, thank you for watching. Very good stuff. The channel is doing great because of you guys, and we really appreciate it. So with that being said, Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships, signing off.